No. Let me recognize Senator Gillibrand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In continuing in my line of question from the first round, Secretary Austin and General Milley, are you aware of any internal audits that are being conducted within the Department of Defense on the execution of the war over the last 20 years?
I am not, other than the AAR activity that we will conduct within the department.
What's that?
After action review.
And what will that say? What will make up that review?
We'll focus on the things that have occurred as a part of this latest operation. But I think your initial question was, is there a review over the last 20 years? And the answer to that is no. So.
And do you think a review of broad scope would be useful to the DoD and useful to policymakers in the future, particularly this committee?
I do, Senator, and I also think, as I mentioned earlier, that should have an interagency flavor as well.
And do you have any recommendations for an external independent review of the war in Afghanistan? For example, what do you think Congress's role should be, and how would such an audit be conducted? What U.S. agencies, countries, and organizations should be included in the review of America's longest war?
Yeah, I don't have any recommendations at this point. I can certainly take that for the record, Senator.
I would be grateful for that. Secretary Austin and General Milley, this is something that hits a little closer to home. A number of our diplomats, intelligence officers, and service members who assisted with evacuation, including the 10th Mountain Division from Fort Drum, New York, were subjected to acute trauma and chronic stress, a problem we are not unfamiliar with after the last 20 years of war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Families at Fort Drum have told my office it felt like a full deployment compressed into the time of a few weeks. Further, so many of our service members have lost their lives to suicide, which has been devastating. What is DoD doing to ensure that our combat veterans and their families are getting adequate mental health assessment and the resources they need?
Well, thanks, Senator. I'll make a comment, and I'll let General Milley comment as well. I think you asked him as well. But you've heard me say before that, my belief is that mental health is health, period. And there should be no stigma associated with seeking help if you're dealing with issues. And I've encouraged the entire force, all of our leadership, to make sure that, number one, we have adequate resources available for our troops and our families, and number two, that they destigmatize the issue of assisting help with mental health issues.
Senator, as you know, I commanded the 10th Mountain Division as well as Secretary Austin at one point. And that division is one of the most deployed divisions, along with the 101st Airborne Division out of Senator Blackburn's state. And there's significant mental health capability there to help the soldiers that were on this non-combatant evacuation. And they'll get immediate assessments upon redeployment. It's the normal procedure. And then those that need counseling, it's there. The key that we have to do is emphasize a culture of non-stigmatizing any sort of mental health issues that a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine have, and so that they feel free, they can seek out the counseling we have available.
Thank you. I'd like to follow up on the line of questioning that Senator Ernst started. Can you describe for us the al-Qaeda threat today, where it's located, where you believe it will be going, what the strength is compared to the strength over the last 20 years? And please answer the same question for ISIS, ISIS-K, and other variations of ISIS across the world.
You're asking me, Senator?
Yes, General Milley first, and then Secretary Austin.
So first, I think it would be good to handle it in some detail in the classified session, but in an unclassified session, I would say that the al-Qaeda threat globally is still there. The threat in Afghanistan has an opportunity now to potentially reconstitute, although it's been ripped apart pretty steadily over 20 years. And al-Qaeda has displaced other parts of the world with their affiliates in East Africa, for example, Al-Shabaab or AQAP down in Yemen, also in the Maghreb, et cetera. So there's several affiliates worldwide, some of which are quite capable and definitely have aspirations to attack the United States. With respect to ISIS, we saw ISIS core in Iraq and Iraq and all that. That was all ripped apart, but they still exist up there, by the way. And ISIS has found a new home in parts of Afghanistan, although right now they're at war essentially with the Taliban. But ISIS has affiliates as well in other parts of the world because of their brutality. So there are other regions of the world which have high concentrations of very lethal terrorist organizations that have aspirations to conduct operations against the United States. And we have operations in intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, et cetera, in all of those parts to continue to watch that. But it has moved in various parts, and we can cover that in some detail in a classified session, if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll pursue both questions for both in classified setting.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand.